Thank you for coming. And wishing me a farewell trip to India. I'm going tomorrow morning. So I appreciate this farewell, what do you call it, going away party. We're going for 2 months. This time, some of you may know Mukund Kotuwar and his wife. They're from Omaha. And they have been, for the last several years, managing our publishing and distribution of our literature in India. And they've been doing a wonderful job. Because every year we publish more books. I think some of you get our books regularly, I think. Did you get some books recently? Yes. And so every year we print our books in India, our literature and posters and DVDs and things, and we distribute. Now we're distributing in North America, in South America, in Europe, in Asia. Australia, just yesterday we sent out the first order to Australia. It was a large order. And I think Africa will be coming soon because the devotee who ordered for Australia lives in South Africa, so somehow that'll be Africa. Then the last continent will just be Antarctica, I think. Right? The one that's not covered. So now the literature's going out in different... And so this year, we're going to visit Mukund in Pune. He moved from Hyderabad, or Secunderabad, to... Some of you are from Secunderabad, I think.
Yeah.
In Hyderabad. You spent some time there. Where are you from originally?
Chennai.
Chennai, originally?
Bangalore.
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 Chennai.
Chennai. Hyderabad. And
Chennai. Guntur.
Guntur, yeah. And where are you?
Bangalore.
Bangalore, very nice. Mostly South India, huh? So we'll be visiting Mayapur and Vrindavan. Have some of you been to Mayapur before? Our Mayapur center? How many of you have been? Oh, good. All right. And Vrindavan? How about Delhi? Our Delhi center? You've seen that? It's a beautiful center. Yeah. And this time we'll be going to Mumbai. We have several centers in Mumbai and several centers in Delhi. I think in Delhi there are up to 10 centers now in one city, or ISKCON centers. And that's very pleasing when there's more and more centers, because then it encourages us to come and associate sadhu sangha and to archana, worship the deities, and to shravanam, to hear from the sadhus. When we hear from Krishna and Krishna's devotees like Bhagavad Gita, we're on the spiritual platform. We're not affected by the contamination of this material world. This material world is very contaminating because it's full of ignorance and it's full of passion. So passion and ignorance are contaminations for the soul. And in order for the soul to get free from contamination, there has to be the counteractive method, and that is Krishna. Krishna is personally the antidote to material contamination. Just like it said that where there is Godhead, there is light. And because Krishna Surya Sama, Mayahaya Andhakar, Jahan Krishna Naha Mayada Adhikara. And Krishna is like the sun, and when there's sun, when the sun is present, there's no darkness, no ignorance. All the ignorance, all the contamination is removed when when we're in touch with Krishna. And we can be in touch with Krishna through his name. That's a very powerful way to be in touch with Krishna, to be associating. Just like today we drove here, I think 3.5 hours, maybe a little more. Some of you have driven that drive. And we were chanting, and we were all associating with Krishna. It was like having Krishna in the car. You go on a trip with Krishna. You take the chanting. And when we hear from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's words, again, we're in association. We're as fortunate as Arjuna. Someone might say, well, Arjuna was very fortunate. He got to hear personally from Krishna. But are we not hearing personally from Krishna? We're so fortunate we can hear Bhagavad Gita. Not only do we hear what Krishna said, we're more fortunate because we get to hear what Arjuna said too. We hear what Krishna said, then what Arjuna said, then Krishna. And not only that, we're even more fortunate. Those on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, they got to see them. Some of them heard, but mostly they were a little too far away to hear. But they could see some discussion was going on. But we're more fortunate. We get to see Krishna and Arjuna. We get to hear them both speaking, and the next thing is we get one of the most elevated, confidential servants of Krishna and Arjuna to explain what Krishna means and what Arjuna was saying. That means our chances of understanding will be tremendously improved by the commentary. Therefore, the purports are very important. We don't just read the translations, we read the purports. Actually, the purports are more important because they explain the translation. Otherwise, we will have a hard time understanding. Why? Because it's very elevated discussion. It's taking place on the spiritual platform. And unless we're liberated souls, very elevated souls, we'll have a difficult time understanding. For example, Arjuna is saying, some of you have bigger, so chapter 10, text 18. Arjuna says, tell me again in detail, O Janardana and Krishna, of your mighty potencies and glories, for I never tire of hearing your ambrosial words. So who can know about Krishna's potencies and glories unless he finds out from Krishna? It's not so easy to understand Krishna. Krishna's impossible to understand by one's own capacity, material capacity, with using our minds or using our senses. Just like sometimes people see Krishna and they say, oh, he's a man, ordinary person. And they hear, oh, he's dancing with the cowherd damsels of Brahma. Oh, they say, yes, we know how. I also dance with girls. They think he's just like us. He has two hands, two eyes. So they think, avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Param bhavam ajanata means they don't understand his transcendental nature. Why? Because they're mudhas. They're foolish. Why are they foolish? Because they're thinking they're the body. That's the first foolishness. You could say that that's the primary foolishness that everyone in the material world is suffering from, that disease, thinking they're the body. I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm Christian, I'm Hindu, I'm old, I'm young. What is old? What is old? What is young? And what does it mean to be an Indian or American? No, they're thinking, I'm the body, so the body, because it's either been born in America or naturalized by immigration, now I belong to this country. But do we belong to this country? Or does the soul, or does the body belong? Only the body, not the soul. People don't know how to distinguish between the body and the soul. Because Krishna's first instruction of Bhagavad Gita is Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir tirastatran moiti. As the embodied soul means the soul inside the body. It's like a driver inside an automobile. Is the driver the automobile, or is he different?
Different.
He's different. But he's inside the automobile. So sometimes he's going together with the automobile, but at some time he opens the door, he steps out, and he goes somewhere else. So we can't say he's the automobile, because sometimes he's in it, but sometimes he's not in it. Just like sometimes we're in this body, and sometimes we're not in this body. Can you think of a time when we're not in this body? Okay, that's very philosophical, yes. During Brahma's nighttime, when Brahma goes to sleep, yeah, that's a very massive, long time to not be in this body. What's another time we're not in this body? Death, yeah, very good. When we leave this body, we're not in it anymore. We saw on the way here, there was a sign that said, this was in Kansas City as we were going out, it said, complete funeral, $1,595, and cremation, $795. So, why are we paying? We have to pay to destroy the body, to burn it up, or to bury it, or to get it out. Because it's no longer worth it. In fact, it's a liability. I have to pay to get rid of it. Now, when the soul is present in the body, I pay to keep it. I'll pay not only 1,000, I'll pay 50,000, I'll pay hundreds of thousands to keep it going. Why? But when the soul's not there, when the soul is left, I have to pay someone here. Can you burn this body for me? Can you bury it, get it out of here? So what was the valuable thing? The body? Or the soul in the body?
Soul.
Obviously, because when the soul leaves and there's no life force, then you have to pay to get rid of it. And when the soul is in it, you'll pay anything to keep it. Which is important, the soul or the body? The body is a liability. It really is a liability. for one who's self-realized, he understands this body's a liability. It's causing me so many kamadina, katina, katida, palita, durnidesha. I have all these. I'm the servant of the body. I'm the servant of the senses. I'm the servant of kama. Yesterday we had a program in celebration of Valentine's Day. Not exactly celebration. We celebrated when Cupid got burned up by Lord Shiva. You know the story. Yes. He got burned up because he tried to shoot his flower arrows at Lord Shiva while Shiva was meditating. And Shiva was so upset because his meditation was disturbed. He was meditating and then he became lustful. At least for a brief second, not very long, but he was angry at that. And he got so angry that between his eyes, he has a third eye, and the fire flame came out and burned up Cupid, or Kamadev. So we celebrated Kamadev's getting burned up.
Yay!
Yeah, we want to get free from Kama. But the only way to get free from Kama is to take shelter of Krishna. As Lord Shiva takes shelter of Krishna, he's always worshipping Sankarshan, the form of Krishna. So we have all these bad masters. Kama adinam. Adi. Kama means beginning with lust, and then anger. I'm the servant of anger. Isn't it? Sometimes you become the servant of anger? When things don't go the way you want. And someone says, "What's wrong, honey?" "Leave me alone, don't talk to me." I trusted that man, put my trust in him, he cheated me. Anger. Lust, anger, and lobha. Kama, krodha, lobha. Lobha means greed. I have to have that. I have to get it. In order to get it, I have to have it. Well, but you can't afford it. That's okay, I'll take a loan. I'll get it. Yes, but there's interest. That's all right. I'll pay the interest. Oh, but the interest rate is very high. That's okay. I must have it. Why? Well, because my neighbors have it. I have to surpass the Patels and the Joneses. I have to surpass them. Otherwise, so kama, krodha, lobha, moha, I become illusioned. Sometimes we take intoxication, we become bewildered. I think, things are too difficult. It's just, living in this world is too difficult. Work is too hard, too much stress. Give me some intoxication, let me take some tranquilizers or some liquor or some drugs. Moha, illusion. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, matsarya, envy, and mada, madness. Sometimes when people get older, they get dementia or Alzheimer's and things like that. So all these things are our and when you're under the influence of mada, Alzheimer's disease, you're controlled. You become the servant of Alzheimer's, of forgetfulness. So many problems. Kamadinam, katina, katida, palita, durnide. But if we take shelter of Krishna, he's a good master. We have to serve someone. Because our nature is servant. By nature we're servant. We're thinking mistakenly that we're independent. People say, I don't believe in God. I'm independent. I don't serve anyone. I don't serve any God. But who can say he doesn't serve anyone? You serve your country, You serve your president, you serve your boss, you serve your wife, you serve your children, isn't it? You pay for their medical insurance, that's service. You go to work and pay for their medical insurance. And when the policeman is directing traffic and he says, come, and you have to do what he says. Everyone's serving. And we have to serve the call of nature. And if we don't have anyone else to serve, it's like a president of the United States. Does it mean that when you become the president that you're free from having to serve anyone? Now you have to serve more. You have to serve all the people and try to make them all happy. Not easy. And if he has no one else to serve, then he gets a dog or a cat and he says, okay, I'll serve you. Would you like to go outside now? Okay, let's go. Where would you like to go? We'll go this way, we'll go this way. Don't worry, I'll pick it up afterwards. Because I'm your servant. Because it's our nature to be servant. But if we're going to be servants, why not be servant to the best? Why not serve the best person? The person who's so kind, so loving, so beautiful, so wealthy. He can take care of all my problems forever. By serving him, all my problems are finished. But people have forgotten that in this material world. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy, illusions toll. We've forgotten Krishna. That's why we come to the material world, because Krishna Bahir Mukhahana Bhogavan Chakari Nikatastamaya Tari Japati Adari. When we forget Krishna, then we come to the material world. But, fortunately, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have some paintings. Oh, here, yes, Lord Chaitanya and his, in 5 features, his Panchatattva, his associates, primary. He's come in the age of Kali. We're living in Kali Yuga now. You all know what Kali Yuga means. There's 4 ages, and they keep rotating like the 4 seasons. So the age we're in now is called the age of Kali, the Iron Age, age of quarrel. So in this age, the Lord comes. Not only does he come, but he came in a disguised form, like a devotee. He didn't come showing himself to be God, like Lord Ramachandra. Everybody knew practically that he was the Supreme Personality of God. He did amazing things. And Lord Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. But when Lord Chaitanya comes, he doesn't come as God, he comes as God's devotee. Very humble. And he shows how people in the age of Kali can become self-realized, can achieve perfection. Very simple process by chanting Hare Krishna. Sankirtan. And pushing on Sankirtan means glorifying Krishna for ourselves, but not just for ourselves. We have to give it to others. The more we give Krishna consciousness to others, the more we make spiritual advancement. And that's good for them also. It's good for them, it's good for us. It's good for everyone. So, therefore, the Krishna Consciousness Movement, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, started by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, has been almost 50 years now. Started in 1966. So now it's 2014, and it's almost 50 years. And I remember when I joined in 1970, only 4 years after the movement was incorporated. And there were just maybe about 200 devotees worldwide in the Hare Krishna movement. Not so many. Maybe a little more than that. But now, the number is phenomenal. It's in the many, many millions who count themselves as members of the Krishna consciousness. You've seen in India, when you go to our temples, how many people are coming. But not just Indians. Recently, just this past year, we are lamenting the loss of our first Russian devotee. He passed away from this world. His name was Ananta Shanti. And Prabhupada went to Russia only once, for a few days. And he was not allowed, this was in 1971, so he was not allowed to travel. He could only go to Moscow, and he could only go to his hotel and the bus, the tour bus. You weren't allowed to do anything else. But because he was Krishna Bhakta, and he only ate Krishna food offered to Krishna, and that means only vegetarian food, he sent his servant out into Moscow to buy some vegetables. So the devotee was going out, but he couldn't find any vegetables. They didn't have vegetables very much. It was very difficult. So he was walking all over town. But how was he walking? He was dressed in his dhoti and his kurta and his shika and shaved head. And it so happened that two young men saw him. One of them was an Indian. He was from India. His father was working with the embassy. From the Indian embassy, he was stationed in Moscow. And the other one was a Russian. And they spoke English. So they saw Prabhupada's servant, Shamasundar, and they said, "Oh, what are you doing? Are you from India? What's going on?" And they said, he explained to them that he was, and he told them that my guru's here. He's staying in the hotel. Why don't you come and see him? And they said, yes. So he took them back to the hotel. Somehow or other he got them in the hotel. They went up and Prabhupada preached to them pure Krishna consciousness for 4 or 5 hours. Gave him prasadam. And that Russian became a pure devotee of Krishna. He surrendered to Krishna. And Prabhupada initiated him. Ananta Shanti. The only Russian devotee the only Russian person that Prabhupada initiated. And then Prabhupada asked him to spread Krishna consciousness all over Russia. Can you imagine? In a country like that, where you couldn't even go, and it was illegal. So what happened? He preached for several years and made hundreds and hundreds of people into Krishna consciousness. And then the KGB became very angry, and they captured him. They put him in prison. He escaped. Then they put him in psychiatric hospitals. Anyway, the story is amazing. You'll read it in our next Vaishnava Society magazine. We've put the story in there, the whole story. But he passed away this last year. But now there are tens and tens of thousands of devotees in Russia.
Wow.
Tens of thousands. All started from that one person.
Wow.
That's amazing. And you can go, if you come to the Mayapur festival every year in March, you'll see at least 1,000 Russian devotees coming. That's just a token. That's a token of the hundreds of thousands that didn't come.
Wow.
So it's a powerful movement. And that's in communist country, atheism. They taught atheism for 100 years. But you can't wipe out the desire for Krishna from within the heart by some artificial means like communism or... That's not possible because Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kabunai Shavanadi Shuddha Chitti Kore Urdoi. By nature everyone is servant of Krishna. That's our eternal position. Just needs to be reawakened. We need to be reminded about Krishna. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions you'd like to ask? I only come once a year, up till now, I think.
More than a year.
More than
a year.
I'll come more often. I'll do better. But anyway, maybe you have some questions in the last year that you'd like to get some help on resolving.
I have one question, right? I joined Krishna Conscious Movement 2005, Bhaskarana Prabhu, through him. I was reading almost this so many years. So theoretically, I know what is Karma Yoga, what is Bhakti Yoga, what are things, but still the complete faith is not coming. Not fully, the surrendering mood is not coming. That not chanting is not so pleasurable. Theoretically, no things, but practically, it's a different in how to increase our faith.
Well, there's different stages. There's 9, the acharyas have outlined 9 different stages. So, adhoshraddha means faith. The first stage is faith, a little bit of faith. Let me hear what Krishna has to say. Let me hear Bhagavad Gita. Let me go and worship Krishna, bow down. So, a little faith. The second stage, that faith increases because you heard and you bow down to Krishna and maybe you chanted a little bit. So your faith increased. So now the next stage is sadhu sangha. Now you want to associate more with devotees. You want to associate less with non-devotees and more with devotees. In the beginning, it was almost always non-devotees. You didn't have association with devotees. You didn't know it was that important. That's why we come to America, I think.